Start, and then minimize it. It'll be good.
Hello, class. Thank you for attending tonight's session. I know that the weather wasn't ideal tonight with the rain, but you guys made it, so I'm happy you guys are attending tonight's session. We have something very interesting we want to share with you in our topic, recruitment. I am Fahim, and today I'm going to be leading off our presentation, obviously. But we wouldn't be the team we are today without everyone involved. So we have our team members, Ray, who will be next in line in the presentation. We then have Tyler, and then we have Justin. So let's get things rolling off here. I'm going to be dealing with what is recruitment, and the question that I know you guys are all wanting to ask, how that actually works. So the correct definition for recruiting is any activity by an organization that is led for the sole purpose of attracting new employees. So the reason why HR recruitment is done is to supply the need of a position. Without a person in the position, obviously a business will not run. A prime example is Wawa. Obviously, they're known to be a brick and mortar store, a convenience store at that, to supply all the needs of something for a customer. But those needs wouldn't be supplied if you didn't have the right amount of employees to form a team to have that process rolling. Now, I also wanted to get into the process of recruitment, of how it actually works. So the process of recruitment is pretty simple. You first have to obviously find a position, make an application, or in HR terms, create a requisition. And the requisition is created by the approval of your boss. Obviously, you can't bring someone on unless you have a need by your boss that the position needs to be filled. There is then the next step, which is actually next here, getting the approval, obviously, but then shortlisting the candidates once you create that job. Getting the shortlist is very simple. You just have to go through a run through of qualifying candidates who apply to your position. Obviously, the most qualified candidates are not going to apply. You'll have some warehouse people apply to your jobs that have 2 years of experience. You'll have a doctor who's overqualified. This happens over and over again in the recruitment process. But this process can be done pretty simple if you have the right recruiting team behind you. Now, I've had this situation where the process is flawed in the sense of sometimes your company's onboarding process may not align with the employee that you're hiring. I hired this one lady that through Atlantic Care, we had a position that we filled there. Their onboarding process was so difficult. They wanted her to take a flu shot, a TB shot, drug test background, but she wouldn't do all those things because of her religion. So sometimes things are big drawbacks on certain employees that you're hiring. People are probably wondering why the heck is there a unicorn on the screen there. The reason for that unicorn is sometimes people are unrealistic. The proper definition for unicorn is a mythological creature with a horn on its head. So there's not many out there. So there's no perfect candidate. I'm going to give you a story of another position that I tried to hire this person on too, but I don't know if we're going to be successful doing it because of the simple fact that there is more than one thing this person's looking for. So we brought this candidate on and we started him with this company, which is actually, I don't know if you guys heard of Gopher Parts. They're an industry that actually supplies janitorial supplies like motors for your vacuum. We started this candidate off in this company. Eventually, they were fired due to the lack of skill set for that position. We then found a person from the auto parts industry and placed them out to that company, and they're going successful right now. But there's certain things that took place on how we found that candidate and the tight market we're in. Some people don't realize that the market that we're in right now is at 3.9% unemployment rate. That is the lowest it's ever been. Bosses don't care about that. They just want people placed in their position, but that's a big factor into who you're hiring. You're going to be hiring the bottom of the bottom because there's only a certain amount of people who are left on the market right now. The most you'll run into is more green candidates. We use that term green as in not experienced, or seasoned candidates who are very experienced, but obviously they're not going to be working too long in the work field. Now, This new candidate that we just brought on actually was a CCO of a medical company we brought on and we hired on for a office manager position. This person they wanted was this ideal unicorn that they wanted to wear many hats. That's why we have this picture here. She actually was making $150,000 and she took a huge pay cut to take this position because it obviously wasn't her hometown. And the office manager position, they wanted someone to run their financial department. And they wanted someone to handle their payroll, their front desk. They kind of wanted someone that could wear many hats, and obviously that person they didn't want to pay well. They wanted to pay them around 60 to 80K. This person came from 150K, but she ended up taking the job due to the fact that it was in her hometown, which we got lucky. Now, as far as the process of how recruiting is done in different industries, you have staffing agencies like what I come from. You have direct hires where you're in the role with the company, which I have experience with as well, where you're hiring onto the company you're working for. Those type of hirings, if not done right, it'll make your boss unhappy. But the goal is to make a boss happy. Now, that's pretty much I wanted to go over with recruitment. Now I'm going to pass it on to my partner, Ray, and he's going to go over different aspects as well.
Ray, can you pause that real quick? Excellent job, thank you. Can you get the frame, can you expand your photo so we don't see your tabs? Yeah, okay, thank you.
So my name is Raymond, and I am talking to you guys on the conflicts between job seekers and employers. So pretty much the whole goal here is to minimize potential conflicts in order to create more opportunities and even networking opportunities. So what are the conflicts? Conflicts could be misleading job descriptions, not being presentable as your person during the recruiting process, not being genuine and honest, potentially stretching the truth, and asking questions that could easily be found on the job site, which means like the company site that they have and host, which are all conflicts that need to be taken seriously in order to minimize or ruin your potential possibility of obtaining a job. So the whole goal here is to minimize and lower any conflicts within the realm of recruiting. So there's many people that are applying for the same job that you are, many competition, same aspects and same walks of life with our degrees and so on. You need to differentiate yourself in order to achieve success and to put yourself a step ahead of your competition. So being presentable is a huge deal. You guys can't just walk into a recruiting agency, your interview, or anything and just show up not shaved and unprepared, meaning your clothes, like are you presentable or are you wearing stuff that you just walked out of bed with? The whole goal here is to put on a right first impression. So you don't want to be that person that is like, oh, we're hiring that person or that person's applying for this job. You want to be the type of person that when you walk into that office or anywhere you're going to apply for this job and talk to the person, you want to be that person that leaves a great remark that they're going to be thinking about all day long. Meaning that you want to be prepared. Know what the company is about. Know the requirements. Know exactly what you're hitting yourself into. Because if you don't, you're going to look like a fool. And two, you're not going to be taken seriously. And the whole goal here is to minimize the conflict between obtaining a job and recruiting process. So with that said, you want to make sure you do your research and understand the company way well prior before the interview or any potential walks throughout the recruiting process. Meaning, be prepared. Show up on time. Be respectful to your employer or the person that is hosting the interview, or even the secretary that lets you in. because your first impression matters, and it does create a better sense of yourself in their eyes. So another thing that causes issues would be misleading job descriptions. That could come from either not fully giving out the requirements, being a little iffy, saying that they want a manager, but you're going to be trained doing like HR per se, even though that could be the same thing, or intertwined. So you have to be reliant and transparent with what you want as what the company wants in order to be successful in recruiting the right candidate. And during the recruiting process, you should be not just selling yourself all positive, because yes, everybody has positive attributes, but also many have weaknesses, and everybody here probably has a weakness. With that said, you got to show them weaknesses. You got to say, oh yes, maybe I'm weak at communication skills, but I could make up for them in other ways and show your true value as to why they should hire you and what you can bring to the table. This also sets yourself different from the competition, as you're not only being like, hey, I can do X, Y, and Z, but you're saying, well, I have this issue, but I could bring this in order to compensate for that issue and or improve on that issue, which everybody has. So that comes down to being confident and being positive with your skill sets. What you guys want to do is you guys want to make sure that you're coming in with confidence. You don't want to be someone that's moping around or that seems in between. If you're like in between, then they're going to look for the person that's more positive. You want to be that positive person, because at the end of the day, it's your skills, it's your experience, it's your resume portfolio that's what gets you to where you're at and potentially the job and opportunity that you are riding at. So coming towards resumes, that you don't want to be fake. You want to be as genuine as possible, transparent as possible, and just real. Because what happens is that if you were to say, oh, you know, coding or Java or something in that realm, meanwhile you have no idea what you're doing within the computers, there's going to be massive issues. They're going to probably test your skills or ask you to do a project in which to perform such content that you put on your resume that you're going to be exposed. You're going to be exposed, and you're potentially, one, lose your job for lying on your resume. Two, look like a fool. And then three, you just lost a great networking opportunity through your employer. Meaning, now when you leave that job, or there's another job, or it's just something, and you need a reference, you can't go and get the reference because they all know you as a liar, or that you weren't as honest as you could have been. They want to see you for what you're worth and what you can bring to the table. If you have some baggage, they're going to be understanding. So I once had a friend who lied on his resume, got through all the recruiting processes, said all the right things, got into the position that he wanted to. And then throughout time and training, they asked him to perform some jobs that his experience, with the experience that he claims to have, could easily compete and do them jobs. And when he performs poorly on the jobs, they looked at him and were like, what are you doing? Is something okay? It led to many complications that ultimately resulted in him being exposed by the company for someone that lied on their resume. He lost his job and now applying to other jobs, can't get references. And now it's similar to like the scooter, like a lost scooter, like all by itself. Now he's all alone on the island pretty much and isolated himself through being able to go through past opportunities in order to create more open doors, which creates issues for further job placements, because what happens is that you can't get a job through lying. And now I'm passing off to my partner, Tyler.
All right.
Any second now. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Tyler. I'm going to be talking about internal and external hiring. Now, to start off, internal hiring is more of hiring within the company, kind of climbing your way up, being promoted. External hiring is along the lines of getting a little help with maybe a headhunter, or just being hired from the outside. Now, politics. Politics are a part of internal hiring, and you see them everywhere. You see them in sports, jobs, elections, obviously, even family. For instance, my grandmother, right? Every single time we would go to visit her, my oldest brother would get $50 at the end of the day. My youngest sister would get 25, and I would get 10. doesn't make any sense. And obviously, she has her favorites. And I'm just saying that if she were to have a company and it was just one spot available, it would be between, me and my brother. I'm not getting that job because she loves him more. Get it? Another thing is, I don't hold grudges. I don't hold grudges. Just like in hockey, I was nominated 3 times to the All-Star team, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. Never made it. Found out senior year that parent was on the board member for the team, so she pulled strings, got the other kid on there. But I don't hold grudges. Oh, if you want to see it right there, that one's me on the left. Still a little upset about it. Culture. So now culture. What's good about culture, at least when you're getting hired from within, everybody knows you already, which is a very good thing. And my whole plan actually, is to be. Sorry. So I work for Train, and when I work for Train, my whole plan was to learn the culture of it, and then build my way up. So I started off as an assembly worker, and then my entire plan is to actually climb up, learn the company, and start doing HR, going into human resources. It's not too bad over there, but it's a heating / like air conditioning facility, so it's pretty hot during summers. They really don't ever turn the AC on. I don't know why. We have billions of them. I guess I like to save money. Just like that, saving money. So, being hired, at least internally, you're saving money. You're saving money for the company. Of course, the owner loves you. Because why? More money, more problems though. So, and it's also a huge motivation. Huge motivator. So, just because you got hired or got promoted, kind of inspires at least me to go higher and higher within the company, to do more for the company. It's like being on a team. I want to take the company as high as I possibly can. But another problem with internal hiring, obviously, is groupthink. For instance, we do RIEs all the time at Train, and it's always trying to figure out how can we make the line better? How can we make it faster? How can we make sure nobody gets hurt? Every single time when we have everybody that's worked on the line, it helps, but we all kind of lead to the same thing. That's why sometimes when you hire from the outside, it's better because you get fresh ideas. You get better. They look a little bit differently into it because they're not kind of closed into this one facility. So they bring better ideas like, oh, maybe if we put a conveyor belt here instead, could help out. The problem is they don't know the culture of the company. They have no clue what kind of culture the company is. Just for instance, all the HR people were hired externally. So when we go actually to talk to them about our problems, like, oh, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? They don't know what we're really talking about. They're always very confused. They kind of like spin the question away a little bit. And surprisingly, there's actually an email I received from HR telling me I did not get the assembly job, but I was hired 4 months ago, so I don't understand that. Another thing is with hiring externally, you're paying more. So you're adding on more benefits to the salary, as well as a turnover cost. For instance, $50,000 salary plus $15,000 benefits, and then an extra $10,000 for turnover costs. It gets a little pricey. But the good news is you're taking more people off the streets and you're taking down the unemployment rate, which is a very good thing, I think. Now, another problem is constant with hiring. You have advertising costs, so not only are you advertising and you're trying to find the best person, but you're also trying to find, you're doing interview costs, hiring costs, turnover costs, all of that. And it gets way too pricey. And you don't want to be spending all of Mr. Kraut's money. You don't want to spend all of my money. You don't want that. God, I love that picture. So that being said, I'm going to pass on off to Justin, who's going to talk about cost and benefits.
Thanks, Tom. Good job. All right, so I'm pretty much just going to talk about the costs and benefits that a company has when it comes to recruiting. I'm pretty much just going to talk about the data behind recruitment and the benefits that good recruiting can do for a company. I have a few stories to share about what it's like to recruit and then what could happen if you don't do it the right way. And then the benefits each of it has to do with that, the ways that you recruit people. So you can't do it without the cost. So pretty much the cost of an actual recruiter in a company is about $50,000 to $65,000, depending on the company and how good the recruiter actually is. And then to train the employee is around 10 grand for each new employee that a company trains, obviously also depending on the company. So what it is to be a recruiter, you need to be a good speaker. You need to be someone who people will follow, and you have to be able to get people to follow you and know who you're getting to follow. You don't just want to pick somebody up off the street if you don't think they're going to be good. You have to have a purpose, and you have to know exactly who you're trying to get. We were lucky enough to have an actual recruiter in our class, Fahim. He worked at Robert Half as a recruiter, and he actually got to tell us a bunch of stories about people he's recruited, and it was awesome to get to see or hear a story about somebody he recruited that didn't work out for the company. This person was not a good candidate after he got hired. They hired him in, they trained him, and he actually was not a good fit for the company at all. He ended up being late to work a bunch of times. When he did show up, he would be tired or hungover. And it actually cost the company that hired him a lot of money because it basically just threw $10,000 out the window. He did not work out, so pretty much he was tired, he didn't work out, and they just lost money from him. Not good. And if he did his due diligence and did research on the guy, he would have realized that he would not have been a good candidate because all he would have to do is search his previous employers. And in doing that, the company actually lost money and it did not work out for Fahim. He actually got penalized for it, sorry. But it cost the company money, and that's not what a recruiter wants to do at all. So when you are a recruiter, you're basically walking a fine line between trying to find the right candidate, and obviously someone who walks across the tightrope does it all the time. They practice doing it, but they want to make sure that they're doing the right thing and pushing the right people through to their employer. You have to always see you're always going to have candidates. You're going to have ones that are noticeably bad. You're going to have candidates that are good. And then you're going to have much more candidates that are more than qualified for your job. As a recruiter, you have to be beneficial to your company and pick the best possible person out of all the people you have. So what companies do to get more people that do not cost money, there's free ways of recruiting, and then there's costly ways of recruiting. So that's pretty much done through advertising, and a way that they get a massive amount of people through advertising is with career fairs, like we had at Rowan the other day, or the other month. I'm sure most of you have been there. I was there. It was awesome to finally that was my first time ever doing it. And it was awesome to get to see all the actual recruiters in action, trying to get qualified students like us into their company, getting our resumes, getting us to apply, getting us to get to interviews that I actually had the other day. Picture me and my friend after the interview. It was my first time, like I said, and it was just an awesome experience to finally get to hand my resume to somebody. Like I would do it applying to like a retail job, but like this was the beginning to my actual career, and getting to actually meet with recruiters gave me a good insight on how I was going to get to be with a company. So the main goal of a recruiter to benefit their company is to save costs. Obviously, if you brought in 100 people and trained 100 people, you could find 2 good employees. But the goal for a recruiter is to find the right employee for the least amount of money. So having a good recruiter can also save money. A free way of recruiting is through social media. I'm sure everybody has Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. And what companies are doing nowadays are using these platforms to advertise their business and show off what they have. Like I'm sure you've seen all over campus, even not for jobs, on flyers, at the bottom of flyers, it's follow us on Snapchat, follow us on Instagram, like check out our page. This is a free way that anybody can just go see what the company's doing, and it's completely free. And it's pretty much foolproof because I could just go on Snapchat or Twitter right now, see a company, pull up their page and see what they're about. Facebook is another realm that I think is just completely beneficial for any business to have. Like I don't know a single business that doesn't have a Facebook page. It's probably how they start out, it's how they gain followers, it's how people learn about them. Just from a simple Facebook page, you could see where they're located, you could see pictures about their goals, you could see messages, they can post stuff, you can see what they follow. This Facebook has too many different realms to not use, and it's another free way for businesses to communicate to people, to get people to know they exist, and just to see what they're doing as a company. The problem with free marketing is that you are obtaining a mass amount of people applying to your jobs. So instead of recruiting at a career fair where you have growing students, you have thousands of people who just see this thing, click apply, send in their resume, then you have to sort through thousands of resumes for people. That makes it harder, which is why it's free. That makes it even more important to make sure that when you're actually, as a recruiter, and you're interviewing the person, you really read the person, you really see that they're doing the right thing, and you see that they're actually going to fit your company that you're recruiting for, whether it's from an outsourcing company or it's your company. You just have to make sure that you're taking everything that you can serious. I thank you for listening to our presentation. I hope you learned a lot about recruiting, and that's all I got. Thanks.
No, right?
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Yes.
Right? Now that we're done, let's see you.
I've worked with trains, like, I'm figuring out a transition.